You know, being a minister, sometimes when you start talking about sexual things and you start to try to explain to people why you have certain moral stands, they don't really understand. But there's a reason for that. The reason God encourages people to wait until marriage to have sex is because when you have sex outside of marriage, you run a very high risk of messing things up. Now, this is particularly true for men. Men tend to imprint off of their early sexual experiences, much like a bird. Some of these birds, these cranes and stuff, they imprint on the first thing they see after they're born. I don't know if you know about this, but there's some animals that when they're born, the first thing it sees, it imprints on and thinks it's mama. So if these stupid cranes are born and a chicken's around, it's going to follow the chicken and ignore its mother. And professionals who deal with these animals have to be very, very careful not to be seen. I've watched them work with them while they're actually dressed up like gigantic cranes to get around them because they're not the brightest things in the world. It's mama, and they'll follow it everywhere. And men tend to imprint off of their early sexual experiences. If a man's early sexual experiences are in the context of lust, which is what they are outside of marriage. It's not really about love. It's about lust. It's about heat. It's about the backseat of a car. It's about someone they don't really know. They tend to imprint on that. They tend to imprint on the sex and not the girl. Are you following me? It's like when they have this, these early orgasmic experiences, it's like their psyche goes, whoa, what was that? And it starts taking pictures. This is because they want to remember. And they imprint off of this. And that's why a lot of guys, they get stuck here. That's why a lot of men are constantly, even in their marriages, are trying to recreate a lust environment, trying to get fulfilled sexually as a married man, trying to force their wives to do things that a lot of them are very uncomfortable in doing. Why are they doing that? Because they're trying to recreate this thing. They're trying to recreate this thing. See, if a man's early sexual experience is in the context of marriage, where he falls in love with this girl and all these people gather together and they all approve of it and they have this wedding and they're in a church and their God approves of it and all their friends and family approve of it and they have the biggest celebration of their life, and then on their wedding night and on their honeymoon he starts having these first experiences. Now he's imprinting on the girl and he connects to the girl at a very deep level. That's why people who wait until they're married to have sex have a fraction of the divorce rate of the rest of the world. Because he's imprinting on her as opposed to just sex. I met a man not too long ago who told me after a session, he says, I got a problem. I said, what is it? He says, I'm just not interested in sex. Which to a Puerto Rican is very odd. And it's like speaking Swahili, man. I don't know what he's talking about. and I said, well, what do you mean? He says, I don't know. I'm just not interested in her. And then she's really upset with me. And I said, well, are you never interested in sex? He says, well, if we go out and have a nice dinner and go to a hotel or something, then I can get into it. And I said, let me ask you a question. Were you a virgin when you got married? He goes, no. And I says, were you pretty sexually active? His eyes kind of lit up. Well, yeah. And I said, why don't you tell me about it? What would be a typical experience? Oh, I'd find these women and pick them up in bars and take them out for dinner and go to some hotel. I said, do you see what you've done? You've so imprinted off of that you constantly try to go back there. You try to go back there. In fact, psychologists today, our whole sex culture that you get from experts is all lust-based because they assume virtually everybody's already done this. So they try and encourage people to keep recreating and keep fantasizing and keep imagining and all this other kind of stuff. And it can be very, very destructive. And men can have a really hard time really, truly connecting with their wives. Can you get past that? Yes, you can. And I'm going to show you how. But you just got to understand it's going to be different for you than for everybody else. Same was true with women. They also imprint, but they imprint in a different way. It's not so much on the sex as so much what happens after the sex. And when women have sex outside of marriage, nothing happens after sex. There's no connection. There's no follow-up. They imprint on that sex equals nothing. Sex means nothing. That's why so many married women have such negative attitudes about sex. what I was talking about last night, how this is such a key thing. They don't even comprehend it because they have learned falsely that sex means nothing. If a woman waits until her wedding night and sees how that is how she connects with this guy, she understands this means everything. This is a key. This is a very fundamental thing. Particularly, you feel very bad for women who've been sexually molested, because not only does it mean anything, their whole experience was forced on them, and that so has such an impact. Those early experiences are so important. It's not like God is embarrassed about sex. God is not a prude. He's seen you naked. He can handle it. It would really freak me out, but he can handle it. Some people say, yeah, you shouldn't have sex before marriage. Yeah, it's just puritanical knowledge. No, 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 no. This stuff has a huge impact on people that a lot of you will struggle with this for the rest of your life. I'm going to show you how to help you with the struggle, which is not what you want to hear. You want to hear how you just fix it and it'll all go away. It won't probably just all go away. You will struggle with this for the rest of your life. All the more reason you need to tell your children what I'm about to tell you, so they do this right. It's a matter of like metabolism. You know how some people, they can eat anything they want and they never gain weight? You know, we all hate those people. You know, they never have to think about it. It's natural to them. They can eat anything and they stay slim all the time. Then there's the rest of us. We so much as look at food, we gain 5 pounds. What is the difference? We can still be at a healthy weight, but it's a lot harder for us. It's a lot more work for us, a lot more energy for us to get into a healthy place. What I'm talking to you about has to do with sexual metabolism. If you do this right in the beginning, those people have an automatic, natural, healthy metabolism. And they carry it with them throughout their whole lives. That's why these people usually stay married forever. These guys who get married at, 18 years old, like Debbie and I did, and die at 103, with just what, they have this healthy sexual metabolism because they didn't get all messed up. And everybody else struggles. That's not to say you cannot have a good sex life. You can. You can have a wonderful sex life. It's just for a lot of you, it's going to be more deliberate, and you're going to have to work at it a little bit harder than others. Are you following what I'm saying? I'm not trying to discourage you, but I'm not going to whitewash this to you. That's why you want to encourage your kids, wait. For the love of God, wait. And particularly for women, not only psychologically, they have now determined through research that women physically do not respond the same after they've had multiple sexual partners. Women typically, when they have sex, they release a chemical called oxytocin into their bloodstream. It gives them this buzz and it helps them to connect emotionally. It's the same chemical that's released in a woman when she breastfeeds a little baby. And it helps her to connect. They call it the bonding chemical. They have measured that women who have multiple sexual partners, they start releasing less and less oxytocin. Just a physical thing. I mean, this is really dramatic for women. Physically, they can't even get the same buzz. It's not worth it. You can make it work. You can have a healthy sex life. I'm going to show you how to do it. But all the more reason you want to encourage your kids, wait. Do this right. Don't tell them sex is wrong. Sex is wrong. Man, I tell my kids sex rocks. Man, sign me up, Jack. I like this. All right? But do it the right way. If you don't do it the right way, they can struggle. Some of you are struggling now. Some of you will struggle for the rest of your lives. You can get it right. Just your metabolism is going to be different. It'll take more energy, and that's okay. Are you hearing me? Don't get discouraged. You can still do it. It'll just be different than if you would have waited. I wish to God we'd all waited. I know we didn't. And it depends on the amount of damage. I mean, just because you had 1 or 2, it doesn't like you're seriously damaged. But some people who've really been into this stuff before they got married, you struggle. And I know you really struggle with this stuff. And hopefully what I share with you in this session will really help you. Okay, y'all okay? You ready? Exclusivity, when one man focuses just on one woman. Looking at the Song of Solomon. Now she writes and says, I belong to my lover and his desire is for me. Something incredible happens when a man focuses on just one woman. Now, this is radical what I'm telling you, because our culture today says the key to great sex is lust. The more you fantasize, the more you check out the hot babes, the more you're looking at pornography on the internet and check, oh, the better your sex life will be. But they are lying to you. Our culture has completely lost its mind in this area. And all the experts talk about, yes, the key to incredible sex is to fantasize and to masturbate. And who is this woman? I can't imagine her having sex. It's just like, ugh. Hollywood, the people who can't stay married for more than 3 months at a time, is giving us the perfect scenario for great sex. Lust, fantasy, ooh, 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 ooh. But it is a big, fat, stinking, puking lie. It doesn't work. You say, well, you're just against it because you're a preacher. No. I do not oppose lust on moral grounds. I could preach you to hell and back if you wanted. But I don't have to. It doesn't work. At least if it worked, it would make some degree of sense, but it does not, and no one challenges it today. You ever read that story of the emperor's new clothes? How everybody went around and told the emperor how great he looked, and oh, he's just walking around in his underwear, and everybody, oh, you're great. And some little kid finally says, you know, he's naked. I feel like that little kid. All the experts today, they keep repeating the same lie over and over and over and over again. And everyone just, oh yes, the emperor's clothes are magnificent. Oh yes, lust and pornography and masturbation. Oh, this is fantastic sex when you do this. But it doesn't work. And the proof is in the pudding. People say, well, where's your proof? By proof is you guys who do it. Let me ask you guys who sit around in the dark and check out the hot babes on the internet and sit around and yank on your wanger. Come on, you wanger yankers. You know who I'm talking to. Let me ask you a question. How's that working for you? Huh? You got great sex? You know you don't. In fact, the more you do it, the more you indulge in it, the worse your sex life becomes. And the prescription the world gives us is, oh yeah, you just need more porn. You need more porn. But it doesn't help. It keeps making it worse. It is destroying people's lives. In Hollywood, they just don't get it. All these experts. I was watching this one show. You've seen the show Family Feud? This one week they had soap opera stars on. And I'll hand it to these people. They look great, but they were as dumb as a box of rocks. And they asked them this one question. It said, 100 people surveyed. What can you do to improve your romantic life? And they come up to the first team and say, okay, I need an answer. And they're, oh, yeah, okay. And they come to the first person, and he says, what's your answer? What can you do to improve your romantic life? He goes, have an affair. And all the other rocks in the box go, good answer, good answer, good answer. Have an affair. How can you be so stupid and still breathe? The way to improve your sex life is to have an affair with somebody else. But that's the culture they live in. The more lust, the more naughty, somehow it improves. It does not improve, it destroys. I know psychiatrists and psychologists who have prescribed to couples in an effort to improve their relationship, have an affair. So ignorant are they that the emperor is walking around naked. Went over to the next, he said, have an affair. The guy looked at him like he was nuts. Okay, have an affair. Went to the next rock. What can you do to improve your romantic life? View pornography together. Good answer, good answer, good answer. View porno. Every answer they came up with was lust-based. 3 strikes. They couldn't get it. Went over to the other box of rocks. Same thing. I'd never seen it before. Neither side could get one answer. Because when they got done, he said, well, let's take a look. And it was like, spend time with each other, have a romantic dinner, take a long walk, bring her flowers, stuff that any moron knows. But these people don't get it. They don't get it. Oh, yeah, that's great. Look, the world's answer to great sex, their formula is number 1, fantasize. Oh, yeah, that's a good idea. Ignore the real woman in your life and focus on one who would never give you the time of day. Oh, yeah, let's do that. Let's pretend. Let's live in a fantasy world. We are trading in real women for fantasies. How can we be so stupid? And this is becoming a real problem. And you know who's beginning to notice it? A lot of people way off on the liberal left are starting to notice it. They're starting to write about it. They're starting to realize there is a problem. Men are becoming more and more diminished sexually and are becoming unable to perform because they have so overstimulated themselves with pornography. It is destroying them. I've met women who've told me that their husbands prefer pornography and masturbation to actually making love to them. I had a woman in my office, and she's a 20-something-year-old, good-looking woman, like Hoochie Mama, okay? So,
I didn't think pastors notice that sort of thing.
Hey, I may be sanctified, but I'm not petrified. All right. A good-looking woman is a good-looking woman. And she tells me sitting there, she says, my husband hasn't touched my vagina in over a year. Not interested. I said, you're kidding me. He said, what does he want? Well, he just wants me to do these weird things to him. All garbage he's got in his head through looking at porn. Trading in real women for fantasies. What in the world? So many women I've talked to in the last year who says, my husband admits he would rather masturbate than make love to me. Fantasize and masturbate. Oh, that's their idea of great sex. And what is it with this masturbating thing? And the passion to which these people rise to defend masturbation as some form of great sex. I don't get it. I'd love to know who the first hillbilly was that went, that kind of looks like a vagina. And this is starting to destroy a lot of men's sex lives. Do not fool yourselves. There is no way in the world you can keep doing that over and over and over again and not retrain your body. Everybody knows this. When it comes to anything physical, athletes know this. They train, they do the same repetitive action over and over again in order to train their bodies so their bodies will respond in a certain way. Athletes do this. Whether it's tennis or football or whatever, they train over and over again so that without thinking about it, their body reacts in a certain way. The military knows that you train young men to react in a certain way. They do the same drills over and over and over and over again. Why? Because you train your body so that without thinking, you act in a certain way. How in the name of God Our culture is teaching our young people from the age of 13 to start masturbating 2, 3, 5, some of them 7 times a day, thinking that it will not retrain them. The truth of the matter is there are a lot of men today who are no longer able to function with a woman. And I hear this all the time in these seminars. Guys who come to me, women who come to me, who tell me their husbands cannot perform. There are a lot of men today who cannot perform with a woman. I had a guy call our office. He says, man, he says, I can have sex with my wife for hours. Nothing ever happens. Incapable of achieving an orgasm. But he can do it by himself. Oh, that's great. Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah, let's get all our kids doing that. Let's get them doing that. He went to the doctor to find out what was wrong with him, and he was diagnosed. This is not a joke, seriously. TMS, the doctor said you have TMS. It's called traumatic masturbatory syndrome. He's actually reconditioned his penis to a certain type of stimulation. It won't respond to a real woman. What are we thinking? And you know what really fries my Puerto Rican pancakes? Is when they say, well, this is how you can achieve orgasm. You masturbate until you achieve orgasm. And they tie the words masturbation and orgasm together. They are crazy. You cannot achieve an orgasm through masturbation. You can ejaculate, you can have something physically happen to you, but it is not an orgasm. An orgasm is when you're making love to a woman and you reach your peak and endorphins are released into your bloodstream and every cell in your body stands up and grabs the hand of the cell next to it and goes, hallelujah! That is an orgasm. Almost universally, people report that when they masturbate, they immediately feel the opposite. Icky, dirty, or guilty. And psychologists have been telling us for decades now, oh, you don't have to feel guilty about masturbating. It's fine. I know Christian pastors who tell their young people, you don't have to feel guilty about masturbating. It's fine. I know psychologists, you don't have to feel guilty. It's fine. I'll tell you what, you can fool your mind, but you will never, ever, ever fool your body. And there are a lot of men today, I believe, who have never achieved an orgasm. They ejaculate. That's all they do. They've so trained their... You cannot get your body doing this over and over and over again and think you can function normally. All they've trained their bodies to ejaculate, they never really achieve an orgasm. Oh, that's great. Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah, let's get all our kids doing that. The misinformation our kids are getting today, a lot of you have gotten it. But dear God, our kids are getting it in spades. The misinformation is going to wreck their sex lives, has the potential to wreck their sex lives for the rest of their lives. And nobody is telling you what I'm telling you right now. Most preachers don't like talking about this stuff. It freaks them out. As you can tell, I have no such problem. And I understand that, but we have got to start talking about this stuff. In the church, we're trying to win an argument where we only let the other side talk. We're trying to win a war where we only let the other side have bullets. Now we wonder why 50% of the men in our congregations have sexual addictions. That's the number, 50%. In our congregations, church-going men, sexual addictions. You have to understand something. Pornography will rob you of great sex. See, every man, the reason why it's such a temptation is because we think it's great sex. Oh, we want to check out that baby. Oh, if we get on the line, I'll have greater sex, I'll have greater sex. That's what sucks us in, with the promise of great sex. But it is a lie. I promise you. The more you do it, and you know the ones of you who do it, the more you do it, the opposite happens. They are lying to you. I'm telling you, the lies that this generation has faced and is continuing to face along sexual information, there are so many blatant lies along this line. We have lost our minds in this country. It is destroying people's lives. You know one of the biggest problems we're having today in America? Sexless marriages. Sexless people don't want to have sex. Don't have to have sex. Have sex with themselves. Oh, that's great. Yeah. Yeah, let's trade in a real woman for a fantasy one. Remember that little diagram I gave you last night? Got the heart and the smiley face. And that motivates that. When you masturbate, that breaks the system. That'd be nice to her. I'd pay attention to her. So self-centered men, lazy, and for a quick release, become lovers to themselves instead of lovers of women. This is sad stuff. Well, what do you tell our teenagers? Tell them to wait. They won't die. No one has ever died from lack of ejaculation. And there's a lot of misinformation about that. People talk about this condition called blue ball. And not to try to gross you out, but that's, well, I have women. Well, what about my son? Won't they get blue ball if they don't mess? No, they won't. That's one of the biggest urban myths that there are. It's the most ridiculous bunch of nonsense. There is a condition like that, but it has nothing to do with ejaculation. Nothing. It has to do with being overstimulated for a long period of time. And the answer is just quit being so stimulated and go back to normal. It is not a chronic condition you're going to walk around tortured for the rest of your life if you don't masturbate. There's never been a morgue anywhere in the world where on the toe said, cause of death, failure to ejaculate. Biggest bunch of lies. We're not animals. Your kids are not animals. You know what the difference between an animal and a human being is? We can say no. We have control over ourselves. We live in a culture where the idea of having control over yourself is ludicrous. It's absurd. There's people who will hear this video who will go, oh, I can't believe he's saying that. What false information? What false information? I speak at these things all around the country. You know, every once in a while I get into one of these scenarios where these experts are there. And I tell them just what I think, and it just freaks the willies out of them. And they get, what? Where's your proof? You gotta have proof. Where's your proof? I'll give you my proof. You know, and it's so ignorant. Like, we need to prove this? We need to prove this? Some things are so obvious. It's like trying to prove, well, where's your proof that oxygen is good for your lungs? So I attempt to prove it to them. Let's start with our scientific explanation, shall we? Let's assume that A turned on woman plus B, a turned on man, equals the best possible sex. Okay? Are you okay with it? You follow? Does that seem logical? For some reason, this is like, whoa! Oh, I've never heard such a thing to these experts. I mean, come on. If you don't have a turned-on man, kind of hard to have really great sex. If you don't have a turned-on woman, kind of hard to have really great sex. So we can at least agree you need a turned-on woman and a turned-on man to have great sex. Yes, we're there, okay? All right, now let me take a little survey here. About pornography. Ladies, if you, and you have to remember, these experts, these therapists, these nitwits I call, actually use this stuff in therapeutic ways. It's prescriptive. Pornography is prescriptive. This will improve your sex lives. So let me ask you, ladies, if you knew your husband had just been watching pornography and wanted to use you to satisfy himself while thinking about that other woman, how many of you that would make you feel very sexual and turned on? Let me see your hands. Okay? We'll call that 0. I presented this to some people. Said, "Well, you can't do that. You're not going to ask women if they're turned on. They'll never raise their hand. That will never work. This is improper." Okay. Let me change the question. If you knew your husband only thought about you and treated you like the only woman in the world without thinking about any other women, how many that would make you feel sexual or turned on? Let me see your hand. Oh, so women will raise their hands. All right, come on. All right, let's see your hands again. I got to get a count. Hands. Okay, we'll call that lots. Now, for our formula, for these experts who need... All right, I have checked with some of the greatest mathematical minds in the country, some graduates of MIT, and have determined, after repeated and at length discussions, that lots is greater than 0. It's brilliant, truly brilliant. So we know now that porn results in a turned off woman. Well, right there, you got yourself a problem. If women are turned off by this idea of her husband fantasizing, then their prescription for porn to improve their sex lives is pure, unadulterated baloney. Because as soon as you remove, you can't get to the best possible sex. Right? And I do this for thousands of people. I have yet to have a solitary woman go, "Oh yeah, that'd be great." And I'm sure there must be one or two out there. But this is so lopsided, it blows one's mind. So blind are these people that the emperor's walking around naked. "Oh, well, yeah, but we've learned that." And all the experts say. But we know that repeat porn exposure results in a diminished male. And I'm telling you, these people are starting to notice this. We're getting writings of people in secular magazines, liberal magazines, who are complaining, hey, men are not able to perform. This is impacting men physically. They're not able to perform as a result of this stuff. I know of men, I know of ministers who, while they're making love to their wives, insist on having a dirty magazine open next to them so they can stay stimulated while making love to their wives. You can imagine how wonderful that makes her feel. Why do they have to do that? Because they cannot maintain an erection if they don't see that. That is the addictive power of this thing. And these people think this is good sex. This is great sex. So we know that repeat porn exposure results in a diminished male. Well, what's the scientific sign for a diminished male? If this is a scientific sign for a normal male, this would be the scientific sign for a diminished male. All right, you're all tracking with me here? All right, so this finally leads us to our scientific formula for the best possible sex. If A, a turned-on woman, plus B, a turned-on man, equals the best possible sex, and we know that porn results in a unturned-on woman, with repeated porn exposure resulting in a diminished man, then A plus B minus porn logically results in the best possible sex. Which means that these experts' information has to be based on broken science. You can imagine these people get really mad at me. And I don't care. I love it. I love it. These people look at me like I just dropped in from Mars. This one lady who writes for, a bunch of major women magazines in the country and Newsweek magazine and stuff like that was interviewing me. And she says, well, I've never heard of such a thing. Is it masturbation normal? After all, children masturbate. So what? Children don't masturbate? She says, well, they touch themselves. So, well, I touch myself. And besides, is this our standard, children? I said, my grandkids will eat their own poop if I let them. Does that mean we should all eat poop? These people do not think, I'm telling you, they're the most intellectually dishonest people in the world when it comes to this issue. You know why? Because they're all addicted to this nonsense. And I need more porn, I need more porn, I need more fantasies. And because of this imprinting that I talked about you at the beginning, these men have so imprinted, they've got to constantly react and relive pornographic or naughty scenarios in their minds so they can enjoy sex. And if you've been there, I'm telling you, you need to break yourself of that. You need to refocus. You need to take out the camera and start taking some new pictures. You make love to that girl, forget about that other stuff. Quit trying to relive garbage in your head. It won't give you great sex. It will rob you. I promise you, the key to great sex is focusing on just one woman.